You feel it, don't you? That fire burning inside. A force so intense, so overwhelming that it consumes you from within. It rises like a tide, unpredictable, unstoppable, whispering to you, pulling you, testing you. And yet, no one sees it. No one hears the battle raging inside you. You are alone with this storm, fighting against yourself, resisting something that seems impossible to resist. But why? Why does it feel like this? Why does it push you so hard, demanding to be answered? And most importantly, how do you stop it before it consumes you whole? Desire, that force within you that surges without warning, that takes hold of your mind, your heart, your body. It doesn't ask for permission. It arrives unannounced, invading your thoughts, clouding your judgment. You try to silence it. You try to push it away, ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. But it's there, persistent, insistent, a fire that won't go out. Some say desire is evil, others claim it's natural. But what if I told you it's neither? What if I told you that desire is not your enemy, nor is it your ally? It is a force, a test, a door that can lead you in two opposite directions, one that lifts you toward light, or one that drags you into the abyss. You see, Allah has placed it within you for a reason. It is not a curse nor a punishment. It is a mirror, a reflection of your strength, your discipline, your sincerity. But if you don't control it, if you let it guide you instead of you guiding it, it becomes a tyrant, a prison, a chain that shackles you to the dunya while your soul longs to rise. Look around you. How many have been destroyed by their own desires? How many have fallen, not because they were weak, but because they did not understand? They fed the fire blindly, and in the end, it consumed them. And now, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to enslavement, where your desires dictate your actions, your decisions, your very existence. A life of impulse, of temporary pleasures, of regret that lingers long after the pleasure has faded. The other path is harder. A path of self-mastery. A path where you learn to command your desires instead of obeying them. A path where desire does not pull you down, but pushes you toward Allah. But how? How do you win a battle that feels unwinnable? How do you fight something that is inside of you, that speaks with your voice, that uses your own thoughts against you? The answer is not in denial. It is not in suppression. It is in understanding. Because if you understand your enemy, you can defeat it. And if you understand your desire, you can control it. And that is exactly what you are about to learn. There is a battle happening inside you. A war that no one sees, no one hears, but you feel it every single day. It whispers when the world is quiet. It stirs when you're alone. It pulls at you when you least expect it. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. Its voice is soft, tempting, familiar. A voice that sounds like your own, but speaks to the language of your nafs. Why resist, it asks. What harm is there in giving in, just once? It promises relief, comfort, satisfaction. It tells you that surrender is easier, that fighting is pointless, that discipline is nothing but an unnecessary burden. And sometimes you believe it, because the fire inside feels too strong, the pull too great, the struggle too exhausting. But have you ever wondered Who is really in control? You think you're the master of your own body, your own choices. But are you? If your desires can command you at will, if a fleeting urge can make you abandon your principles, if the mere sight of temptation can undo your resolve, then who is in charge? You or your nafs? Look at the world around you. How many people have lost themselves chasing a moment of pleasure? How many have sacrificed their dignity, their relationships, their very faith, all for a desire that lasted only minutes? They thought they were free. They thought they were in control. But in reality, they were prisoners, slaves to their own impulses. And you have a choice. You can be like them, letting your nafs lead you blindly, pulling you deeper into regret with every step. Or you can fight. You can reclaim your authority over yourself. You can silence the voice that whispers lies and replace it with something stronger, something higher. Allah did not create you to be a slave to your body. He did not place you on this earth so that you could be ruled by urges that come and go like the wind. He gave you something greater, the ability to rise above. But here is the truth. Victory does not come easily. This war will not be won in a single night. It will take discipline, patience, and a willingness to struggle. And yes, you will stumble. You will fall. You will have moments of weakness. But that does not mean you have lost, because true defeat only comes when you stop fighting. So, how do you win? How do you take back control before it's too late? It begins with one word: discipline. Not denial, not suppression, but discipline. The art of mastering your own desires instead of letting them master you. The ability to say no when every part of you is screaming yes. The strength to walk away when everything inside is telling you to stay. And discipline is not built overnight. It is trained. It is sharpened. It is a muscle that grows stronger with every battle you win, every temptation you resist, every moment you choose Allah over your desires. And if you don't train it, if you let your nafs have its way without boundaries, without control, then know this: your nafs will never willingly give up its power over you. The more you feed it, the hungrier it becomes. The more you surrender, the harder it is to break free. Until one day you wake up and realize you are no longer the master of yourself. So ask yourself now, who do you want to be? A servant to your fleeting desires, or a warrior of your own soul? Fire cannot burn without fuel. No matter how strong the flame, if you take away what feeds it, it will die. Yet, how many people claim they want to control their desires while they continue to surround themselves with everything that ignites them? They say, I want to be stronger, but they keep throwing wood into the fire. You want peace, but your eyes wander where they shouldn't. You want purity, but your ears are filled with words that corrupt the heart. You want to be free, but you willingly expose yourself to the very things that enslave you. And then you wonder, why does this struggle feel so impossible? The truth is simple. Your environment is shaping you. Whether you realize it or not, everything around you is either lifting you up or pulling you down. Every image you consume, every word you listen to, every conversation you engage in, it all leaves a mark. Look at your surroundings. The people in your life, the content you consume, the habits you nurture. Are they helping you or harming you? Are they guiding you toward control or trapping you in temptation? The heart is fragile. It absorbs everything. And when it is constantly fed with impurity, how can it remain strong? You wouldn't leave an open wound exposed to dirt and disease, would you? You wouldn't pour poison into a glass of clean water and still expect it to be safe to drink. But that is exactly what happens when you claim to fight your desires while feeding them in secret. This world is designed to pull you away from Allah. Everywhere you look, temptation calls your name. The music, the images, the conversations, the very culture we live in, it all pushes you to let go, to give in, to embrace what your soul knows is wrong. And if you do not consciously protect yourself, if you do not guard your heart like you would guard a treasure, then understand this: you are already losing the battle. The Prophet said, "A person follows the religion of his close friend, so let each of you look at whom he befriends. Who are the people around you? Are they those who remind you of your purpose, who strengthen your faith, who inspire you to be better? Or are they those who make sin look easy, who laugh at restraint, who pull you toward the very fire you are trying to escape?" Some will say, "But it's just entertainment. It's just a conversation. It's just a moment of distraction." But that's exactly how the fire spreads, one small spark at a time. And if you don't take control, if you don't make a change, then do not be surprised when you find yourself trapped, when the fire no longer feels like a burden, but a part of you, when the things that once made you uncomfortable become normal. That is how the heart hardens. That is how faith fades. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can take back control. You can break free from what weakens you. But it starts with one thing: cutting off what fuels the fire. That means making choices. Difficult ones. It means walking away from environments that make sin feel easy. It means limiting what enters your mind, your heart, your soul. It means filtering your world so that what remains is only what strengthens you. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, people will not understand. They will say you are too strict, too serious, too extreme. They will mock your restraint. But ask yourself this: on the day of judgment, when you stand before Allah, will their opinions matter? The fire of desire does not go out on its own. It burns as long as you continue to feed it. So what will you choose? Will you keep throwing wood into the flames? Or will you finally let it die? You resist. You fight. But the fire does not leave you. It lingers, waiting for a moment of weakness, waiting for you to slip. And sometimes you do. You fall. And when you do, the whispers return, louder, sharper, more ruthless than before. You've already failed. Why keep trying? You'll never be strong enough. It's too late for you. Shame grips you. Guilt weighs you down. You wonder if you are beyond saving, if your heart has become too tainted, if Allah will ever forgive someone who keeps falling into the same battle again and again. But let me tell you something. Shaitan's greatest trick is not pulling you into sin. No. His greatest trick is convincing you that because you sinned, you no longer belong to Allah, that because you fell, you have no right to stand back up, And if you believe that lie, if you let that thought settle in your heart, then He has already won. Listen carefully. Allah did not create you to be perfect. He created you to be a struggler. You were not meant to never fall. You were meant to fall and rise, again and again, until the day you meet Him. Because the ones who are truly lost are not those who sin. The ones who are truly lost are those who give up. Do you know how many times a child stumbles before they learn to walk? Hundreds, thousands. And yet every time they fall, they get back up. They do not say, "Walking is impossible." They do not sit down and accept failure. They keep going, step by step, until one day they no longer fall. Your journey to mastering your desires is the same. It will not happen in one night. It will not happen in 1 month. It will take time, patience, and persistence. And the key is not in never falling. The key is in never staying down. Do you think Allah's mercy has limits? Do you think He tires of forgiving you? He is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. His mercy extends beyond what you can imagine. He is not like people who turn away from you when you make mistakes. No, He waits for you. He calls you. He loves when you return to Him, no matter how many times you fall. The Prophet said, "By the one in whose hand is my soul, if you did not sin, Allah would replace you with a people who would sin, and then seek His forgiveness, and He would forgive them." Do you understand what that means? Your repentance is more valuable to Allah than your perfection. Your return to Him is more beloved than if you had never fallen at all. So what will you do? Will you let your past sins define you? Will you let your mistakes convince you that you are beyond hope? Or will you rise once again with the knowledge that every step you take toward Allah, He takes steps toward you? The fire inside you does not mean you are lost. It means you are alive. It means you are being tested. It means Allah sees you as worthy of the struggle, because He does not test those who are worthless. He tests those He loves. And what greater love is there than the love of the one who never turns you away? So wipe your tears, silence the voice of despair, and walk toward your Lord, no matter how many times you have to start over, because as long as you are trying, you are already winning. You fight, you resist, you fall and rise again and again. But even as you struggle, even as you push forward, there is a question that lingers in the back of your mind. Is it even worth it? The world around you moves without restraint. Temptation is no longer hidden. It is everywhere. It is in the music that plays, in the images that flood your screen, in the words people speak so casually. They call it freedom. They call it self-expression. They mock those who try to hold on, who refuse to be swept away by the tide. And in those moments of exhaustion, when your own desires feel too strong, when you feel like an outcast in a world that celebrates sin, the question grows louder. Why am I doing this? But tell me, when has greatness ever come without struggle? The athlete who wins the race, did he not train when others slept? Did he not push through the pain when his body screamed at him to stop? Did he not sacrifice comfort for something greater? The scholar who reaches knowledge, did he not sit for hours, for years, drowning in books while others wasted time? Did he not isolate himself from distraction, to build something that would last beyond him. And you are chasing something far greater than a medal, far greater than knowledge. You are chasing eternity. Do you think that path will be easy? Do you think jhana, something so pure, so perfect, will be handed to you without effort, without patience, without sacrifice? No. Allah has already told you. Or do you think that you will enter paradise without facing trials like those who came before you? Quran 2:214. You are being tested just as every believer before you was tested. And yes, it is hard. Yes, it is exhausting. But nothing in this dunya, nothing, is worth losing what is waiting for you in the next life. Imagine standing before Allah. Imagine the moment He calls your name. Imagine Him telling you that every time you resisted temptation, every time you chose Him over your desires, every tear you shed, every moment of restraint was not forgotten. The Prophet said, "Whoever gives up something for the sake of Allah, He will replace it with something better." You may not see it now. You may feel the struggle more than the reward. But know this, Allah is never unfair. Not a single battle you fight for His sake is wasted. So when the whispers return, when the fire burns inside you and the world tells you to give in, remember why you are holding on. Remember that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. And on the day of judgment, when many faces will be dark with regret, when many will wish they had held on a little longer, when people will beg for one more chance, one more moment to prove themselves, you will stand with those who endured, those who fought, those who were laughed at, ridiculed, mocked, but never gave up. And that day, when jhana is opened, when the struggles of this world are nothing but a distant memory, when Allah's mercy covers you like a blanket, when you realize that every sacrifice, every tear, every moment of restraint was worth it 1,000 times over, tell me, will you regret holding on? Or will you thank yourself for never letting go? The fire inside you, it hasn't disappeared. It's still there, still burning, still whispering, but something has changed. You are no longer afraid of it. You no longer see it as a curse, as a punishment, as an enemy you are powerless against. Because now you understand. This fire was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you, to test you, to push you toward something greater. It is not a burden, it is a responsibility, a trust from Allah, a force that, if controlled, can lift you instead of break you. And now you know the truth. Desire does not own you. It does not define you. It is not your master. You are the master of your soul. You are stronger than the voices that tell you to give in. You are stronger than the world that calls you toward distraction. You are stronger than the whispers that try to convince you that the struggle isn't worth it. Because now you see the bigger picture. Everything in this life, every pleasure, every temptation, every moment of weakness is temporary. It comes, it goes, it fades. But every choice you make for Allah, every battle you fight for His sake, every time you silence your nafs and choose Him over your desires, that is forever. And when you truly understand that, everything changes. You stop seeing restraint as a sacrifice and start seeing it as a victory. You stop seeing patience as suffering and start seeing it as strength. You stop feeling trapped by your desires and start feeling liberated by your control over them. This is what it means to be free. Not a life without tests, not a life without struggles, but a life where you choose Allah every single time, no matter how hard it is, no matter how strong the fire burns, no matter how many times you fall, because you understand that true victory is not in never struggling. True victory is in never giving up. And so, I ask you now, what will you do with this fire inside you? Will you let it consume you, control you, drag you into regret? Or will you tame it, master it, and let it push you closer to Allah? This battle does not end here. It will continue every day for as long as you breathe. But now, you are prepared. Now, you have the tools, the knowledge, the strength to fight. And with every step you take, with every temptation you resist, with every moment you choose Jannah over Dunya, you are winning. So hold on, keep fighting, keep rising, because in the end, when you stand before Allah, when He calls your name, when He welcomes you into an eternity of peace, joy, and light, you will know that every moment of struggle was worth it. And if this message has touched you, if it has reminded you of your strength, of your purpose, of your ability to rise above, then don't keep it to yourself. Someone out there is struggling just like you. Someone out there needs to hear this. So share this video. Help them find their strength. Help them find their way back to Allah. And if you want to keep growing, if you want to keep strengthening your soul, then subscribe, because this journey doesn't end here. And together, step by step, we will keep fighting, keep learning, keep rising, until, by the mercy of Allah, we reach the place where no fire can touch us ever again.